Hello, I'm Daniel, and this is my wife, Kimberly Graham.
And we're your money mastery coaches. We work with high earning power couples to guide them to financial harmony in their financial communication.
Utilizing the Affluent Synergy Framework, even if you meticulously budget every expense and talk money to your partner.
Find out more at theaffluentmarriage.com. We can't wait to help you live in love
and walk in wealth.
Hey, welcome everybody to the Affluent Marriage Podcast. This is your Better Together series. We always look for power couples that we feel truly embody our mission. And I'm going to put Kim on the spot eventually, not today.
I was going to say, dude, I'm not ready for this pop quiz.
Not today, but I'm going to have her say the mission at some point and see if she's even hip to it. But our mission is simple, y'all. We are trying to help you take control of your finances and strengthen your relationship by aligning your goals through strategic communication. And we found a couple that just knows how to communicate. They are thriving and doing well. Kim, who do we have today?
Oh my gosh, Kyle and Ariel. You know, I don't even know if I've said their last name, so I'm going to let them say it. But can I just say, we have had some really great heavy hitters.
Like, what's going on?
And hold on.
No, I'll fix it.
There we go. Kyle and Ariel Tresch.
That's right.
Yes.
Tresch.
I don't think I've ever said your last name. I've just been like Kyle and Ariel.
That was the educator in you.
That's good. That is that.
You were able to identify.
Yes. My what,
your pronunciation.
Oh.
Yes.
Yes, that is a teacher.
Way
that is
to
a
crush
teacher
it,
flex.
babe.
Kyle and Ariel. Who are you? Tell everybody who you are. Where are you from?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, thank you both for having us here. We are huge fans of you both and feel very aligned with the mission, as you guys have stated. Yes. Helping couples take control of their finances is something that isn't talked about enough. But there are actually things that you could do as a couple that single people can't really do together to really enhance the conversation around finances, wealth, abundance, and making your dreams come true. So I'm excited to dive into that today. Yeah. But my name is Kyle. This is my wife, Ariel. She's the prettier one. We all know this.
Hey, and someone has to be.
Yeah, well, exactly. You get it, man. You get it. Although we don't necessarily have the cool hats like our wonderful hosts have here. Okay. You guys are just keeping the holidays.
Hopefully we don't get stuck together.
And our last name is Tresch. It's kind of like trash, except tre. Like with
what I was thinking treasure, but that's cool.
You know what? That's much better.
That's much better.
I got made fun of so much when I was young.
You don't,
like Kyle Trash.
You don't tell people that, right? No, that's not how you introduce yourself.
Trash.
No, hey, like, it's totally, listen, it's like from trash to treasure. That's our entire story. You know what I'm saying?
I got that.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. That's amazing.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Oh, I was going to say, for us, we've both been entrepreneurs for over 10 years at this point, and we've been dating throughout that entire time. And one of the things that we're so blessed to do today is to work with entrepreneur couples from all over the world, helping them grow businesses without growing apart in the process. And is there anything else you wanted to add to that as well?
Yeah, and I would just say that, we started having two separate businesses. And then at some point we did, actually come together and start not only working together, but also working with couples who have separate businesses, couples who are in business together. But like we said earlier, our mission is very similar. It's to, show people that they can thrive in their businesses and in their relationships at the same time and in their financial world as well. So
yeah, excited to be here.
Oh my God. Yeah. Oh my gosh. I love it. And where are you guys located?
Jupiter, Florida.
Jupiter, Florida. Oh, you know what? There's a lot of coaches in Jupiter, Florida specifically.
Really?
You guys,
it's such a small little town, but we're by West Palm Beach. That's fascinating.
Okay.
There's another coach. I'll have to text you guys later to see if you have made any connection with her specifically. And they're a couplepreneur as well. Might be a really nice connection there.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So small world.
Yeah.
Facebook is such a small world. It's crazy.
Yep.
So my first question for you, this is our favorite one. The stories that we have from this specific question are phenomenal. Just how did you guys meet?
Yeah. Tell us the origin story of Kyle and Ariel.
So I can start with that.
Yeah, go for it.
We actually met in middle school, or sixth grade. And you guys too?
Well, eighth grade, but
middle school.
Okay, great. That's great. So yes, we met in sixth grade, and we started off as really good friends. And funny story, we actually did wind up dating for how many months?
I think it was like 4.
Like 4 months when we were in middle school.
And could you believe it? She actually broke up with me.
Yes.
In middle school. Well, here, you know, like how every 14-year-old kid goes through like that phase. It's kind of like a clingy phase where like your first girlfriend, you're like, oh my gosh, I love you. We're going to get married. That was a little overbearing for my wife.
I was a strong, independent woman at the age of 13.
Yeah.
And I was not having that. So.
No, she wasn't. Broke my heart, but it's no big deal.
That was totally him. Yeah. He was the same way.
Right? So here's the deal. I don't know how old you guys are, but when we were in middle school and we would talk on the phone, you know, as we would for hours and hours, we would clog up the land. So my parents couldn't be on the internet, or we couldn't receive phone calls to the house, right? Because we were clogging the line.
Yep.
So it was, man, what a time.
He was like, I'm going to marry you. And I was like,
I did say these things as like a 15.
See?
Out.
And look at you now.
And you know what, Dan, to our credit, we were kind of right.
Yeah.
You know, if you think about it.
We were prophets.
Yeah,
prophets.
So we dated in middle school. I did break up with him. And honestly, after that, we stayed broken up for many years, but we stayed very good friends. Like we were the kind of friends where we didn't see each other often, but when we did, we would talk for like 4, 5, 6 hours at a time. And anyway, I'll let you pick it up from there.
Oh my gosh. So yeah, I mean, how we got to where we are today was like a very twisty, turny ride, full of craziness that really we didn't know anything was different from what we experienced, because when we did get back together, we were about 19 years old. Mm-hmm. She was a very entrepreneurial woman, and so was I. I was an entrepreneur, except not a woman. I was a very entrepreneurial man. So here's what we've discovered. When you have two entrepreneurial people that kind of come together in one relationship, there's amazing opportunities that come with that. But there's also a lot of complexity that can come with that in the process. And we started to experience that not really during the dating phase, but really once we got married. So long story short, we loved each other. We loved each other's entrepreneur spirit. Yeah. We self-funded our dream wedding in the Bahamas. And we were like, this is going to be amazing. Like, you have dreams, I have dreams. We're going to, take the world together. It's going to be awesome. And we thought that life only gets better after you get married. And, I wish that was the case, but unfortunately it was not for us. It was not as smooth sailing as we thought.
Yes.
100%.
You guys know like how a lot of people call like the phase right after they get married. Do you know what they call that?
The honeymoon phase?
Yes, the honeymoon phase. Well, what I can tell you is that we had what we call the anti-honeymoon phase.
Oh,
it was like the worst time of our relationship. Yeah. You remember that time?
Yeah. Wow. It was immediately like we got married, we came home, we both dove back into our separate businesses. We were working away. And then suddenly, like a month into our marriage, we started to feel like, as Kyle likes to put it, like two ships in the night. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. We didn't connect. We basically would wake up, work, high five each other as we're like eating lunch during the day, and then like go back to work. Right. And like, we never really saw each other. We never really connected throughout the day.
Yeah. And it started to kind of unravel into a lot of issues in our relationship that we've never experienced before. Yeah. But if anyone's watching this and you and your spouse are in business together, or you were both entrepreneurial, you might be able to relate to some of these struggles. I mean, we got to the point where we would not really be able to answer the question, when we are both working, whose job is it to do the errands, the dishes, the household menial tasks? And we would fight about whose time was more worthy. Right. Exactly. Air quotes for sure. We've had times where we would talk about business from sun up to sundown. And we went from being a romantic partner to just roommates in a household that just so happened to be married. On top of that, as all of this is going on, we also were reaching like a plateau in our businesses to where we both felt completely capped. Yeah. So if you can imagine, when your schedule goes up, your intimacy goes down, and our income was going down with it. And in addition to that, I could say that it was some of the darkest periods of our life, because just to be honest with you, we knew we were called to each other. Mm-hmm. We knew we were called to entrepreneurship, but those two things were not working out at all. They were at odds at each other. And the more we tried to force what we thought was the answer to that, the worse it got, to be honest.
Oh my gosh.
And honestly, there was a point in my life where I was like, man, I don't know what we did wrong. And the turning point, though, for everything was I went into a guest room of our house. I got on my bed. I was praying out to God just for an answer to like, what do we do? Because up until that point, everything I was trying was not working. We actually were digging ourselves deeper and deeper into a hole. In fact, during that time, I thought the solution to all of my problems was to make my amazing entrepreneurial wife my assistant for my business. You get what I'm saying?
How did that go? How did that go?
Oh, man.
Ariel,
Ariel,
Ariel, how did that go?
It did not go well.
No.
Yeah.
It did not go well. But I thought like that was the answer, right? Because up until that point, I was a digital marketing consultant. I was working with some of the biggest companies in the world, and we were able to generate tens of millions of dollars. So I was like, Ariel, why don't you just come be my assistant? And like, that's the most efficient option, right? And sometimes in like religious circles, we can also feel that pressure as well when we kind of conflate like roles in the household and how we're supposed to be. And again, we weren't necessarily equipped with how to navigate through that. So I remember just being out in the bedroom, praying out to God, asking for an answer. And I'll never forget, I got off the bed and I checked social media, which is like the number one worst place to go when you're looking for answers to questions. But
right.
In this particular case, I pulled up Facebook. And when I was looking at Facebook, I saw a live video that Ariel was doing for her business. Her business at the time was a coaching business, helping women build six-figure businesses using only social media.
I remember that time.
Oh, you remember? Yeah. So you two were connected during that time. Well, as you've probably witnessed, just like I did in that moment, there were so many women under her live video leaving comments saying, Ariel, thank you so much for what you're sharing. It is amazing. It is changing our lives. And I remember reading that and having this like mind-blowing epiphany at that moment, thinking, wait a second. If I was to just take all of the superpower that my wife has and just make her my assistant, I would literally be depriving the world from the value that she is here to bring. So at that moment, I'm like, oh shoot, now I get it. So I ran out of the guest room. I found Ariel in the kitchen. I was like,
after the live video.
I was going
to say not during the live.
That would have been good. I wish I would.
That would have been a good like, snapshot of like this moment. And
this was the moment.
Yeah.
I kind of wish I did
history.
I wish I did at this point. But no, so I ran out and I said, Ariel, I'm so sorry. I have been trying to like make you fit into what I think you should have done when you're truly an entrepreneur. And in that moment, I asked a question that really like changed the trajectory of our life, which is how can we take our individual passions, keep them, but aim them towards a unified purpose?
Yeah. Oof. I love that so much.
In that moment, it like opened up like a whole new world of opportunity where we didn't have to sacrifice our marriage for our business or our business for our marriage. Yep. We can create a third path where we can walk in what we're called to be, which is to have a thriving relationship and a thriving business at the same time. So we started creating some new habits, new routines, new rituals, and just kind of like figuring it out as we went through a lot of trial and error. But thankfully, it didn't happen overnight. But over time, what happened was we started to recognize that there were certain things we could do to switch from being in work mode to romance mode. Yep. There were certain things we can do to support one another in our individual pursuits, to actually lift each other up and complement one another instead of competing with one another. And as we continue to do that, you guys want to know what happened?
Tell us.
Not only did our romance come back and like our intimacy come back, but our businesses went from being completely plateaued to just skyrocket.
That is so, and that permeates so many different thought patterns too. When we focus so much on the things that are not really when we focus too much on the things that are not really, they don't really matter. That's when we notice all the things that are not working. But when we focus on the places where we're like, oh, we need to put more emphasis here, we need to put more boundaries. It's actually the times I find when we work less that we do more because we're actually using that time for the things that actually matter and are actually, lead generating or, monetary generating, whatever you want to call it. We actually focus on those things more and everything else just kind of fades away. Things kind of align themselves perfectly.
Right. And to listen, I mean, this is exactly
it's literally,
Well, this is amazing. Like, this is why we brought them here, right? Because this is so inspirational to so many couples. And like, you guys know this, like, this is not normal. Like, what you're experiencing and what you're living is not normal. Like, you guys are an anomaly. And we would love for more couples to experience the harmony and the love that you guys have for each other and the support that you guys have for each other. So that's beautiful.
Thank you.
Yeah. So I just feel like this is like the power of being yoked up, right?
Legit.
Like, the whole principle of like being equally yoked, right? Like Kyle was going in his direction and Ariel was going her direction. They were pulled in two different directions. And, Kyle was like, maybe come alongside with me and like, pull with me. But like, ultimately they pulled together. This has got to go because it's knocking my headphones down.
Okay, sorry.
It's time. But you guys started pulling in the same direction. And we talk about like the power of being yoked up and how like an oxen, by itself can pull 3,000 pounds, but together with another oxen, you'd think double, but no, it pulls 12,000. Like it quadruples its pulling capacity because it's in alignment. It's pulling together. And that's what you guys are doing, right?
Yeah.
Because you came alongside each other and you experienced that alignment that, your businesses blew up because you guys were aligned.
Yeah. And we totally saw that principle about the oxen play out in our life because like the output was so exponential than any one of us could have done on our own. Yeah. And that was the power of coming together, not in uniformity, but in unity. Yeah. Uniformity is like, I conform to you, your standards, you conform to my standards. Unity is how can we take our individual strengths and point them towards a unified purpose? And we started like experiencing this where, we would go on more date nights than ever, make more money than ever, and service our clients better than ever and be happier than ever. And we're like, oh, this is like, we kind of discovered something cool here. And really like what birthed the whole Couplepreneurs vision was as we were going through this process, we would go on these little date nights and we would post them on Instagram and Facebook because, if you go on a date night and you don't post it, did it really happen?
It didn't really happen.
What are you doing? Take a picture of your food, take a picture of your waitress. Like you got the whole experience.
Have the waitress give a testimonial, the whole thing. So, but anyways, we were doing that and we had so many people reach out to us asking us like, how do you guys make it work? Like if I was going to work with my spouse, we would kill each other. You hear that a lot. Yeah. And Ariel and I are like, no, like it's worth figuring out. And we just did a few things to strategically align ourselves to accomplish any goal we set. And so by a certain point, we had that question asked to us so many times where we eventually just said, hey, maybe this is like an area we can walk in, a niche we can speak into. So fast forward to that, 2022, we launched Couplepreneurs, and within 4 months, that business was like exploding. And we now get to work with entrepreneur couples from all over the world, helping them grow and scale businesses with proven digital marketing strategies, but doing so in a way that actually keeps the couple aligned in the process, which is something that we haven't seen before.
Yeah. And I'm going to tell you this, I've never ever seen like this done where couples are helping coaches couples as coaches are helping other couples, say that 3 times fast, right? Helping other couples just really understand how to leverage each other's strengths. So like that, when I saw that, I was like, and it's so funny because Ariel and I, fun fact, like I had spoken to her maybe a couple times. Like it wasn't like we were like, oh, hey girl, like besties. I just had seen her on social media streets, doing her things. Hold on. No, we're good. Okay. Our children.
I don't know if you can hear that. They're like knocking on their door.
Knocking on the door. All right. We'll tell them to stop for a second. Okay, she's always like, I'm gonna pay out myself. She's not
so dramatic.
She's very dramatic. She's fine, and if she does, I mean, it is what it is. But they've done really great. They've done like 20 minutes so far. I'm happy. I'm proud of them. But going back to what I said, so I don't normally see things like that. And the thing that was interesting is that like I had seen you talk to different entrepreneurs, female entrepreneurs, and you will have a pool or something. This is going to sound so like stalkerish. This is just what I remember. there's
It
always
might be a little
pool in the
stalker. Hold up.
backyard. Right? Is there a pool? Do you have a pool?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay. I was like, am I like, no, if you don't have a pool, then it's another person. No. But I always remember there being a pool in the backyard. And I was like, oh, that's a really nice pool. I don't know why. That's just what I remember. But like fast forward, okay, to like, I don't know, maybe 6 months ago is when I connected with you. Maybe not. Maybe it was like 3 months ago. It was not that long ago. I saw your ad.
Time goes quick.
Time goes so fast. But like, I saw your ad and I was like, wait, I know that girl and I don't know him. So I was like, let me go into their Facebook group. So if you're a couple out there, join their Facebook group called Couplepreneurs. They do stuff, every Wednesday at 5?
Yep. Every Wednesday at 5 p.m. Eastern time. Yep.
Yeah. And man, they have a good time. And then you guys are also doing a like in person soon, right?
Yes. Yeah. So in February, so depending on when this releases, but February 1st and 2nd of 2024, we are having a live in-person event in South Florida. So if you want to come to South Florida in February, we highly recommend. But we're having a live event in South Florida specifically for entrepreneur couples. And again, the goal is at that event for you to be in a room of other couples who are crushing it in business, crushing it in their relationships, crushing it in building wealth for their family, as well as, the generations that come behind them. And with that said, so yeah, that's happening, South Florida, February 1st and 2nd, 2024.
Yeah. Cause how many times have you been in a conversation with another couple who is not entrepreneurial or doesn't have big dreams and you feel like you're the odd one out?
Yeah.
Legit. And like when I saw the ad for it, I saw slow dancing. I saw you guys just being really I saw so much stuff and I was like, oh, this is so good because you're absolutely right. And the more that I talk to other couples who have big dreams that are like weird like us, okay, the more that I'm like, oh my gosh, we're not alone.
Yes.
Right. It's nice to have a community to share your wins with because you start to, I don't want to say feel bad, but when you're sharing your wins with non-entrepreneurial couples, they almost might be like, oh, good for you.
Yeah.
I'm so excited that that's happening for you.
Yeah.
I don't know.
So true. You know what's interesting is the way our culture is set up. It's kind of messed up if you think about it. Everyone will celebrate somebody graduating college, which is fine to those who want to do it. I'm nothing against it, sort of, depending on where you're going to go. But but we will celebrate that. Or we'll celebrate buying a new house, or we'll celebrate somebody graduating school of some sort. But the minute you go on and you celebrate a revenue milestone that your business just did, all of a sudden you're looked at like the scum of the earth. It is the weirdest thing.
Yeah.
It's bizarre.
Yeah. All of a sudden,
and they'll support you when you're small,
right? Yeah.
But then when you grow, it's like,
you're too good for me.
Yeah.
Okay.
You're too stuck up.
You're better than everyone. I
literally just got off a call, a live that I did with someone literally talking about how, God-given wealth and perspective. And you said it before, a lot of, religion, that has been put narrative that's not necessarily biblical about what our role should be, about how we should view wealth, how we should view, finances, in building businesses. And there's just so much out there that we as entrepreneurs, especially if we're believers, I know this is a totally different conversation now, but that we need to tap into because we are missing a huge space that we have been called to, and we're holding ourselves back because of society, because of norms, because of this is what should be. But if we surround ourselves with other couples who are crazy like us, who happen to believe that, no, it's actually possible for you to work with your spouse in tandem, celebrating each other's, superpowers, as you mentioned. And it's also a really great, it's actually not an anomaly to actually love talking about finances with your spouse and get excited about building wealth and get excited about having, the money, we call them money dates. We have a lot of fun with our money dates.
Yeah.
It's actually not weird, actually. That's actually really, it should be normal.
Yes.
Yep.
If we're surrounded by those people, we can change our own environment and create more wealth, create more purpose, create more, the tidal wave would be huge. I love what you guys are doing. I really do. I love it.
Well,
right
back at you.
Yeah.
And to your point, I think that for those watching that are believers as we are as well, there is a lot of cultural narratives against the idea that maybe being wealthy is considered evil, for example. I know that's something I had to really work through as an entrepreneur, because when you really break it down, let's just take that one concept, for example. Being wealthy is evil. Well, there's a couple problems with that. Number one, what do we do with all of the righteous, godly people in the Bible who are all extraordinarily wealthy? Like, what do we do with them? Another problem with that is based on whose standard of wealth is considered wealthy. So if you look at like the entire world, it pretty much everybody in America is wealthier than 50% of the entire world. So like that means we are all screwed, right? It's like by that logic. But we know that logic isn't true because there isn't a square footage on the house where you go from good to, you know, spiritually in danger. Like this is just this is a cultural hypnotic system that is basically programmed to keep people stuck at a certain level. Cause like if you're stuck at a certain level, you're easier to control. And anybody that goes against that norm is just pulled down by the environment around them because they don't, because people themselves may not have the ambitions that you guys have. They may not have the goals that you have. So they see you achieving it and they're like, no, you achieving that breaks my mold of who you are and where I am in my relationship. So I have no choice but to try to pull you back down. Yeah, it's the world we live in, right?
It is so like you are nailing it. Like, right. I should have made a Rudolph nose. You are nailing it. You are nailing it. For those of you listening to the podcast, I have antlers on. So like right there, like that is it. And so if we are intentional about surrounding ourselves with couples who are like-minded,
100%.
we're going to change the world.
100%.
Or at least our world, you know?
So that is something that we've like when we first got into finances, that's something we, not on purpose or it happened. Like we cultivated a friend group that are very, you know, hyper focused on their finances and, you know, they celebrate like their check-ins. How often do you guys check in with each other on your finances? Like, are you doing that like once a month? Like
or with like your business, like revenue goals, all that jazz?
About once a week.
All the KPIs.
Well, it depends on what specific topic. So this is something that we work on with all of our clients who are just so happen to be couples as well. There's weekly check-ins about strategic vision that we set for the week. And then we also have daily check-ins where we will meet with each other each morning to look at what is on the docket for today. What are the goals? Who's going to be doing what? Exactly. So that way there's no tension. There's no unspoken communication, which leads to unmet expectations, which leads to resentment. We completely eliminate that by doing regular check-ins. Now, when it comes to finances, that's an area that I specifically run more of in our business, but we are always communicating about the investments that we are making. You know, what the liquid capital is going to look like in the next 3 months and our projections for the future. And actually that's kind of the way that we divvy it up. I run the projections for the business. Ariel will actually look at more of the goals and the future allocations of where we need to hire, where we need to invest, and together
I spend the money.
She spends the money and I just make sure we don't run out of it.
Right.
You know, but that's kind of a good way we balance it. Yeah.
I'd be very curious to see who they are on our money archetype. So we have a money archetype quiz. And basically, it's not that someone was like, does it mean that if I'm one way and my spouse is the other, that we're not compatible? And I'm like, no. They're all
we're talking about your marriage here.
They're all compatible. Okay.
You guys are compatible.
But it's just like you mentioned, like, oh, I learned that she had a superpower. I have a superpower. And with our powers combined, you know, like Captain Planet. Right. But like, this is exactly what's happening here too with your finances. When you are learning the type of spender, the way that you connect with your money, relate to your money is different than how another person, your spouse, is going to relate to their money. When you find the superpowers in that, then you're able to say, oh, it's not like I'm giving you a role, almost like here's your job and this is it, right? But almost like, no, this is what I love to do and I love to share this with you and I love to learn more about what you're doing, but that is what you're doing. I don't need to step on your toes there, but we know that with our powers combined, we can then create more wealth, more building, more savings, all that stuff in our finances as well. So I'd be very curious to see.
Yeah, no, I love that you guys have the roles because a lot of people think that they both have to like do the job together. And that's not necessarily true, right? Like we were talking about this the other day about like grocery shopping. Like, you know, there can be someone that creates the grocery budget and says, this is how much we have to spend bi-weekly. And then there's someone else who might be tasked with being the one that goes out and purchases the groceries. Like maybe they like to do that. Like but if they're not communicating, right, there's going to be tension there because the person buying the groceries, right, are going to overspend and they're just going to be like, well, I want this and I want this. I'm going to make this meal. I'm going to make that meal. And then they come back and they're like, hey, here are all the groceries I bought. I did my thing.
And you're like, oh my gosh, no.
And you're like, you didn't stick to anything that we talked about. Like we have a line item. Like stay within the budget.
Yeah,
but it's like, even though they have separate roles, there has to be that communication. Otherwise it can cause that tension. So I love that you have those established roles and you get to operate in your power.
I like to plan the vacations and I like to spend the money on the vacations.
I don't like to itinerize. I don't like to do any of that. I just want to go and sit on a hammock, sit on the beach, just relax.
It's so much fun. I love it.
Yeah.
As little thinking as possible.
No, we feel that. I mean, you're definitely the planner between us when it comes to that sort of stuff.
Yes.
Like the more micro details.
Yes.
So it's interesting. Like it depends on which area of the business we're focused at. Sometimes we'll like switch strengths depending on the area of focus. But I mean, it all points back to exactly what you both are saying, which is that when you can understand each other's superpowers and leverage that, that's when you unlock what we call the couplepreneur advantage. It's an advantage that you don't necessarily get when you're a solopreneur, right? Yeah. When you're working together as a couple, you actually have a built-in amazing partner with you who can be strong where you're weak at. Yeah. And you might be strong where they're weak at. And when you guys are able to collaborate and contribute and get on the same page of how you're aiming those strengths, my gosh, you're able to do 4 times, 5 times, even 10 times what the average person can do. It's not easy, but it's totally worth it.
No. I find it interesting because there's 2 things that I'm like, don't forget to say this, Kim, because there are 2 things that I'm like, I have to talk about it. The first thing that you said when you were talking about your story is you mentioned, one, the superhero, like the strengths, but then you mentioned a unified goal, right?
Yeah.
And that's something that we talk about a lot as well, that without that purpose, without the purpose being a part of it, all of the work that you're doing is kind of like, for what?
Yes.
Right.
And it's important to have that goal and that dream, like, oh, we both have a very we have a commonality here. We both want this. So we need to work smarter, not harder, to getting to this goal. But without that, then there's constantly going to be like tension. So I love that you have like, you have to dream, you have to have that strategy, you have to come back to it often. Tell me about how you built that communication, because you said it didn't happen overnight. So like, I love the. So walk me like through that. Like, how did you guys consistently stick to it? Because it's so easy to be like, nope, not working. I'm done. I'm done. I'm not talking about it today.
Yeah, I can start and then I'll kind of pass it to you. So what I can start with, like, what the problems were and then how that stemmed into what we have now. So in the earlier stages, we talked about the anti-honeymoon stage, right? And what we were experiencing at that time was such a disconnect, both in, romantically as well as in our working relationship together. And what we found was 9 times out of 10, any sort of tension or friction or anything that we were experiencing came back to exactly what Kyle said earlier, which is like unmet expectations. And when we started to reverse engineer, like, hey, I thought you were going to do this and this didn't happen. And then this happened. And then we would start to kind of play the blame game, right? And we would get irritated at each other. And we'd start to find out that, hey, I'm frustrated about this, but I guess I never actually communicated that to you. And I guess you assumed this is what I wanted. You assumed this is what we were doing. And we started to find that everything was based in a lot of assumption versus actual communication. And so what we started to do was figure out, okay, how can we actually get on the same page on a consistent basis to know what are we doing? What's the vision? What are we moving towards? And how do we both contribute to that? So that's kind of like where it started. And that's when we started doing okay, if we're not communicating these expectations, we had a client call this over communication. They started practicing over communication. And so we didn't call it that at the time, but we started doing similar things. We're like, okay, I know it's crazy, but let's talk about this every day. Like every day, what does the calendar look like? What are we doing? Who's doing what? And just talking about what that would look like. And so as we started doing that, we started to develop a daily process of okay, every day we come in, we kind of brain dump out on a sheet. What are the things that we need to communicate today? Who is, doing certain things. Am I going to go get groceries later? Whatever it is. Here's all the things we need to talk about. Then we would sit down and we would divvy them up between each other. We would discuss them and then we would divvy them up. And that's kind of, that process started to form slowly, but now we have it where that's what our process looks like. We brain dump it out. We discuss all the things, then we divvy them up between us.
Yeah. And that's how we get through the day-to-day very, very efficiently. Like people, if they come to visit us in our home, they're like, you guys, like the way you guys work is just crazy, which we take as a compliment. We'll take that. But like, even when it comes to the big picture vision, like the ultimate vision that we feel called in our life, something that we were told by a coach that really changed our life is, if you don't take time to talk to your spouse about what you authentically desire in your life, your success could actually look like failure for your spouse. What I mean by that is, for us early on in our career, like I had one vision of how I wanted my life to look. She had another vision of how she wanted her life to look. And when there's two competing visions in the house, you have two visions. It's called division.
Yep.
Division.
Oh,
you know what I'm saying?
So you're in marketing. You're telling you're in marketing. You were like, there it is.
Yeah. They told me I should be either a pastor or in marketing. So it's one of the, like one of the two.
I mean, really, truly, they are one and the same. Right?
I mean,
we're doing the same thing.
Yeah. We're marketing the greatest gift ever given. You know what I'm saying?
That's
Can I get
There you go.
That's right. Amen.
But anyways, we had that. And I remember like really working through that with Ariel. We actually went to the beach and did our first vision date where we just said, hey, you write down absolutely everything that you want to accomplish in your life. I'll write down everything I want to accomplish. And like, let's come together and use our entrepreneurial superpower to create a win-win scenario where we both get what we both want.
Yeah, I think that's what a lot of people do is they think that if your visions are like quote unquote competing, that you just have to compromise. But like what's so cool about us being entrepreneurial, our literal job is being resourceful and solving problems. And so we came at this like, how can we make both of these visions work without having to sacrifice?
And when we did that, now you can imagine like the subconscious blocking that could cause us to drive forward with one foot on the gas and one foot on the brake towards our dreams. Like the foot was lifted from the brake and we were able to just go full speed ahead because we're like, oh my gosh, like if I succeed, you succeed. If you succeed, I succeed. Like we're doing this together. We're building a life.
We're not competing. We're not.
Exactly.
It's not you versus me. We're doing this together. That's why this is called Better Together Tuesdays. Look at that. We brought it right back.
Full circle.
But literally, and I love that you did. It's always the simple things, right? Just like
the basics.
Having those conversations every single day. Sounds silly. But that is literally the consistency that needed to be brought in. And I'm sure your conversations take like 5 seconds now because you guys have it down pat.
It's
100%.
And people say the same thing about finances. We tell them, I want you to have this conversation every single day. And they're like, are you serious? What? And I'm like, I'm not joking. Like, this is where it started for us, having this conversation, dreaming about it. The vision dates are my favorites. We would start doing our budgeting when we had $76,000 of debt. I think I told you guys this already, but just in case our listeners forgot that. We had a lot of debt, okay?
All student loans. Mine.
Student loans.
My
all
student
his
loans.
Student loans. I had every reason to be like, nah, I'm not doing this. It's yours. It's not mine. But I believed that, okay, what's yours is mine. And I want to support you. So because I didn't know what to do with money either. I was like, I don't know how to budget. Like, how are we going to do this? So we started our conversations at Starbucks. Every single month, we would have like a whole like monthly meeting at Starbucks.
And we'd share a drink.
We couldn't do it at home.
Venti and we'd share it.
We couldn't do it at home. But I was like, I can do it at a Starbucks.
A lot of shared meals in those days.
Yes. And then our check-ins were literally like that. It was just like, okay, are we good? Are we good? And it was just constant communication. Now our money conversations are fun. They're inviting. We have so much fun and they're quick. And we're able to talk about more of the big picture things instead of focusing on all the nuances of like, I can't believe you did such and like, okay, you went to Target and you bought however much. Okay, fine. I'm glad you had a good time. You know, like there's none of that tension. And there's so much more dreaming that can happen when you're not focused on those little nuances because they don't matter that much, you know? Well, we have a plan for it, but you get what I'm saying.
Yes.
I love that. All right. He's just like, okay.
I'm just nodding. Yes, we do. We love that.
Okay.
Less tension, less fighting.
Less tension, less fighting. Who doesn't want that?
Yeah, right.
Sounds good to me. I mean, so I guess we can kind of communicate it that way. If you're watching this and you don't want to be closer with your spouse, if you don't want to have more peace around your finances, then just simply,
if you enjoy like a little tussle every now and then.
If you'd rather just have a lot of unspoken tension that like makes you passive aggressive and go throughout your life like wondering if it could be better, just ignore everything we're saying.
Just keep doing what you're doing.
Yeah, keep doing what you're doing. Change nothing. Yeah. That's really the advice we would give.
Yeah, but if you desire to kind of have a peaceful, harmonious, marriage, we're kind of a really great couple to hang around, both of us. Yeah. So hang out with either of us. We're pretty awesome people.
Yeah, I mean,
go ahead.
I was going to say, I appreciate that. I don't know if we would call ourselves awesome as much as we would say that we're just very blessed to like be put through some serious tests in our relationship and our finances and our business to learn the lessons the hard way. But if anyone else is out there and you find yourself in a business with your spouse or wanting to start a business or having two businesses in one household, there are certain things that you can take. There are certain steps that you can take that we've created after trial and error. And what we like to say is we've taken the stairs so we can offer others the elevator. Yeah. So, because like you can either learn one or two ways. You can learn through your own trial and error, or you can learn from the experience of others. And it's so cool to see inside of our Successful Couples in Business Facebook group. We have over 2,000 entrepreneur couples in there that are supporting each other, celebrating their wins, helping each other grow, connecting with each other. And the group is totally free. So if like anyone wants to be in that type of environment, like you're more than welcome to attend.
Yeah. Join it.
Yeah.
That's, yeah.
Let's get a.
Is it going to work for you?
It
might like me. It might like me. Okay.
I was going to give you some hearts for everything that you just said, but our continuity camera is just there. It is.
Oh, I love
there. It is.
Makes me wonder what else you could do.
But
right? Can. It does a lot.
Sometimes we talk and like balloons show up and we're like, oh.
Sometimes if you say something like celebration or something like that, fireworks will show up behind you.
But they're not going to do it now because they want you to look.
Yeah, it's the continuity because we use our phone as it's like a better camera than the camera you can get from Best Buy.
Love it.
So anyway, but I didn't realize that the updates happen, and I really thought that there was a phantom going on. I was like, what is going on?
Yeah, the first few times it catches you off guard, you're like, what? Why are things showing up on our screen? All right, so where can people find you if they want more Kyle and Ariel in their life?
Dude, say it again.
How do they find you?
Yeah, so there's a couple places. The first one is Instagram. So if you just go to Instagram.com/couplepreneurs, so like couple and then preneurs, like entrepreneur. That's our Instagram. That's where we're pretty much the most active other than our Facebook group. And our Facebook group, if you go to the Facebook search bar, you can just search for Successful Couples in Business. Our group should be the first to pop up, and you can join us inside that community as well.
It's a completely free community where you don't feel like the black sheep anymore in your community for having dreams and goals and ambitions to make more money and to change the world. We actually celebrate that. And every single Wednesday at 5 p.m. Eastern time, we do trainings, like actual practical trainings where we either teach marketing strategies or mindset tips or even marital tips to help make this game of couplepreneurship so much easier the way that it's meant to be, the way that God called it to be.
And so much more fun.
Yeah, because business isn't meant to be a drudge. You know what I'm saying? Like it's meant to be fun. You're creating the life that you want to create, that you're called to create. And if we could support you in any way, feel free to send us a DM and just let us know you heard us from this podcast.
Yay. Oh my gosh. It's so good. Guys, thank you so much.
Yeah, you guys are incredible. Thank you guys for coming on today and just sharing your story. From trash to treasure, from roommates to romance. Like this is...
you should be in marketing too.
I'll consider it as a profession. I'll consider it.
No, you're saying him, damn.
Oh, he should. Yeah. Listen, let's maybe you should. Let's go.
I told you we're going to be on stages together. I said it.
Yeah, but, you did say that.
Point it out there.
You did say that. So if that happens, you can always point back to this episode, right? And be like, hey, remember?
This was the moment.
This was the moment it was said. There you go. All right, guys. I'm so excited that you guys are here. It's so, I hope that you guys get so many more people in the Facebook group connecting with you guys. We just want to make sure our viewers and listeners know that you are always better together. And we hope that you live in love.
And walk in wealth.
All right. Bye,
Take care, guys.
Bye.